Welcome, fellow anime addicts. Thanks for checking out the show. I don't have much to sell you today, no Japanese snack boxes or underwear subscription services. I just want to bring to your attention the AAApodcast.com website. It's absolutely free, and not only the place to find this show, but our future episodes as well, so you'll know what shows to watch before listening. We also have a ton of past episodes, including a database of our past review scores, as well as links to the YouTube videos that contain them. If you want to get involved, we have a whole mailbag section for you to submit topics, questions, and ideas, as well as links to the absolutely free Discord where we hang out and have a grand old time. And finally, if you're so inclined, where you can support us with our Hobby Addicts, where we talk about all the movies, video games, and non-anime television shows we watch. The after parties, where we hang out, talk about food, and go on weird rants. And finally, the hentai episodes, which contain things that I can't talk about right now. All this and more can be found at the AAApodcast.com website, so go check it out. Now, time for the show.
何よ、アニメアディクツアノニマスのライブブロードキャストやってるって言ってるでしょ。聞きなさいよね。You are listening to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at aaapodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Hello and welcome everyone to episode 720 of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Maybe we are catching you in the middle of cosplay con crunch and you're only half listening to us. Maybe you're showing this podcast to your parents, remarking to undoubtedly doubtful faces that, while we're sometimes cringe, at least we're self-aware. Maybe you're a few pints deep and listening live on Twitch, where we stream every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, because we're recording this on St. Patrick's Day, and if this is your first time listening, perhaps, let's tell you what's going on. This is the Anime Addicts. We are here to make your anime addiction worse. My name is Mason, and with me today is the luckiest leprechaun of all time, perhaps. We have a very green Caroline in the house. How's it going?
Hi, this cosplay is not going to be working out for the rest of this episode. It is already causing problems. This hat is not meant to stay on the head of somebody wearing headphones. And these glasses with the attachable mustache, while very fashionable and I love them, it kind of gets in the way of my mouth. And so you might hear a lisp happening right now. You may or may not, but I certainly do, and I will not stand for it. So these are just for the intro and will be coming off momentarily. So everyone on Twitch, enjoy.
Get your screenshots now.
Yeah, the only thing that will happen is me opening a Guinness at some point. Because I do have, I was showing the game and then my hat. So yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day, Mason.
Yeah, well, I had some green on earlier, but I took it off. I was so blinded by your Skittle orange green mustache and just the blaze of green like a forest fire that I just was so shunned into submission that I had to regress into my unparticipatory trademark black t-shirt.
Yeah, anybody would be humbled looking at this.
Indeed. I feel so unlucky in so many ways. But
I'm here to bring luck to all.
Why, thank you. So yeah, we record this podcast every week, normally with a third host who is not here because he is in Japan right now. He's living the dream. He's back in the land of the rising sun, doing what he does best, which is God knows what. I honestly don't even want to know, but I'm sure we will find out in a future date when he returns. So until then, stay tuned to us on Twitch, Facebook, Discord, TikTok, Faceback, Instagram. I'm combining all of them. And we appreciate your support. With that, today we have, I think, a pretty fun episode. We are doing a review of Migi and Dali, as well as the follow-up to last week's pretty successful, I might say, 2023 Anime Oscars. We have the Anime Razzies this week. So this is Caroline and mine effort to go through a bunch of the worst from last year's submissions and go through what the Discord wanted us to poke our sticks at. So we will do just that. But we also, I think, have a big surprise in the big news of the week.
Yeah.
So let's get to that.
One more thing. I have a new chair.
Oh my goodness, it's here.
It's here. It's the old chair's in the background. That piece of crap has been here since middle school, everybody. And look at me in my sleek $100 chair. I probably could have spent way more money on this, but still, it took me 2 hours to put together.
Listen, you do not want to know how much money I spent on this chair. So
yeah, probably way more than I did.
So that's fine. I like how your chair is relegated to the corner like a dunce. It's like looking away, just like in shame of its incompetence.
Listen, I could put this in several other places in this house. I could put this in the extra room, in the basement, whatever. But the thing is, if I do that, I will definitely not get rid of it. I will probably find some place to put it temporarily until junk week, because that's the only time I think I can get rid of that in a way that I like. We also have more boxes to add to Box Mountain in the background here. Hopefully that will go away soon. Listen, I'm a hoarder. I don't know what to do with this.
She's a cat. She's playing around in them when she's not podcasting. Okay.
Yeah, so I need to get my life together.
Take 2. Big news of the week.
大ニュースです。It's time for big news of the week.
Okay, so the big surprise was not the fact that I got a new chair. It is because I got something to eat today. WcDonalds!
Is what the soundboard would have gone like if Mitz was here.
Yeah. Honestly, I might keep the bag for the memes because it's the only thing that's not covered in grease.
So Mitsugi got the Reese's Puffs with the Dragon Ball, and he cut that out and framed it. Are you going to do the same thing with the bag?
Probably not to that extent.
That's probably a good idea.
I don't know. But I just wanted to keep something. So, yeah, I got some fries. I got the 10-piece McNuggets. And I got...
The what?
10-piece Wick Nuggets. Sorry. Whack Nuggets? Wick Nuggets. I also got the savory chili whack sauce. Just probably regular sauce. And a Coke. Now, I have not had McDonald's in several years. I can't even tell you when was the last time I ate anything from McDonald's. What I can tell you is that I miss the fries. The fries, they still hit. Also, drive-through sodas, so crisp. Nothing compares. Now, I've had a few nuggets so far, but I have not tried the McDonald's sauce, which is the main thing here, even on the bag. It's like a whole, like, manga art about the sauce, because that's the only thing that's really a part of this whole WcDonald's thing. So let me tell you what this says. It's the sauce of power. It's the sauce of bliss. The world's never tasted a sauce so true. It's the sauce of comfort. I must mask my true excitement to maintain my mysterious lore. I don't know what that means. So yeah, they're really hyping up this sauce on this bag. So I will get my things together here. How about you talk about The Boy and the Heron, which is your news for today, while I get myself prepared to just get my mind blown.
Yeah, emotionally, physically prepared.
I really do.
You're immediately going to spill it all over the new chair.
Oh, God, no.
What's the smell? What's the smell? Give us the play-by-play. This is
more
than a podcast.
It's a little spicy. Or should I just do it now? Because I already have it open, so.
Yeah, you've already committed. You're like, I need to prepare.
Yeah.
Unwraps one packet. I'm prepared.
So it smells like a chili sauce, of course. I got my whack nugget. Dip it into the whack sauce. And let's give it a taste. It tastes fine.
That's the most positive WcDonald's review I've ever heard.
Yeah, because honestly, everyone that I've heard talk about the WcDonald's sauce says it does not taste very good.
So maybe that lowered your expectations.
True. Yeah, it tastes kind of good. It tastes like a teriyaki and chili kind of sauce. I also have ketchup here too to kind of supplement, and also a sweet chili sauce here from my fridge because I love that. So I have 3 sauces going on now.
You heard it here first,
not
folks.
bad.
Remarkably
Not bad.
edible.
You know what? I might even have another bite. I'm gonna have
Oh my
another
goodness!
bite.
Another
dip.
one. Another one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will let you
Here we go.
just
We are
enjoy it.
We are not sponsored by WcDonalds, by the way.
Yet we should be, or maybe not. We'll get the post nuggy thing after I get my news out, which is we have a bunch of the Boy and the Heron news. Obviously, the biggest news from last week is that the latest from Hayao Miyazaki won the animated feature film at the 96th Academy Award. It beat out the likes of Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So this is big win for anime Ghibli Miyazaki. Yay for people finally voting for anime in a animated feature film category, which sounds like it would be a much easier ask, but it's not always the case based on what we've learned about in the past of the proclivities of the Academy's voting behavior. That said, hooray for weebs across the country.
Yay, weebs. We did it.
How much of this is just
everything.
due to this likely being the swan song of a famed legendary director, or just actually being a good movie? Debatable. I mean, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was pretty popping off, but nonetheless, love to see it. And in light of that, we have a bunch of announcements of how to watch this film, which people might now want to do now that it's won the Academy Award. For one thing, GKids announced that the movie is returning to North American theaters on March 22nd. So maybe by the time you are hearing this, you can actually go out in the real world and not this fake digital hellscape of a podcast and watch The Boy and the Heron in theaters. The screening will include an introduction for the film by composer Joe Hisaishi and a recorded drawing session with the supervising animator and character designer Takeshi Honda. So I like, fun features like that. Usually get them only on DVDs and Blu-rays, but I guess it's cool to see them in the theaters. And the film will screen in Japanese with English subtitles and with the English dub. So if you have a preference one way or another, you can watch it in that avenue. Toho announced that it will screen the English dub in Japan on March 20th. So if you are actually in Japan right now, Mitz could literally watch this movie in Japan. So hooray if you're over there. In English, yeah. And finally, if you're like, I hate spending money, but you already kind of spend a little bit of money, the film will stream exclusively on HBO Max, aka why do companies rename so poorly? So I don't think that was in doubt. All the other Ghibli films are on Max, so just the confirmation that if you wanted to stream it, it will be there when it does stream, which we don't have dates for yet. So what's your updated opinion on the Nuggies?
Yep, the Nuggies are decent. The sauce is much better than I expected, I'll be honest. It's not my... listen, I would probably prefer a barbecue sauce, but it's a little spicy. It's good. And I think WcDonalds will only be open for another week or so. So if you want to get some WcDonalds merch and edible merch, then you only have one more week to do it. And I have not done the whole, scan the code on the bag to get the manga or the anime shorts or whatever. I haven't done that yet because I only literally just got this. So, yeah, if it's anything interesting, I'll let you guys know eventually.
So will this bring you back into eating at McDonald's, which I think is
Probably
the
not.
big purpose of this campaign?
I like that they done something kind of fun here. But listen, McDonald's is not exactly worth it these days. Like the fries, the nuggets, the savory sauce, the Coke, this combo that I got here, it was $10, which was kind of more than I was expecting. So, yeah, and it's okay every once in a while, but I feel like once you have it a few times, it's probably lost its luster.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So, that was fun.
It was. Thank you for falling on that sword for us. And now...
It wasn't much of a sword fall
It was
on.
a saucy sword.
I think Mitz and Pancake got it, and they talked about it on the Discord briefly, but they probably didn't really have anything that good to say about it.
Maybe. Let's get to our 2023 anime Razzies. So if you don't know, the Razzies or Raspberries are a fun take on celebrating the worst in cinema from the previous year. And we're not going to be that negative, though I'm sure we'll throw some shade here and there. But we went on the Discord. Actually, I should say you did, Caroline. And you festered up some engagement and got people to suggest categories of different varieties, we'll get to them, of, you know, the worst of different elements of anime from last year. And you and I are going to just kind of laid back, relax, talk about our nominations, which ones we think fit the bill, and we'll have some fun with it. So as always in the Twitch, if you have any better answers than us, I will steal them and not give you credit. No, of course I will give you credit. And we'll have some fun. So let us know what you think down below in either the YouTube comments or real time. And let's get into it with the first category. This comes to us from Sajinther. And this is this even animated award for the worst looking or poorly animated show. So, you know, a lot of times we only review shows that meet a certain modicum of standard, so we don't spend too much time watching the worst of the worst, but we both, I think, have a pretty good answer here, and I'll let you go first if you are feeling up to it.
Sure. And I'll be honest, like going through and trying to get my Razzie nominees together, I've realized that there weren't a lot of things that I absolutely despised from last year, you know?
Yeah, there was...
Like, some of these, I'm gonna have to, like, play it up a little bit in order to have fun with this, but some of these I'm like, yeah, I mean, that one was okay, but I guess that would be the worst one for this category.
There were some really good shows and just a lot of, I'm going to say the word, mid. Like, there wasn't that much egregious stuff, though we'll get to it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So for the Is This Even Animated award, I had to go for a show that I really only watched one episode of. That being The Saints' Magic Powers Omnipotent Season 2. So I did watch Season 1 the entire way, and by the end of Season 1, that one was also looking pretty rough. And I start Season 2, watch one episode of it, and the thing that made me put this in this category is one scene in particular. Now, the rest of the episode did not really look all that great anyway, but the fact that they literally had a 20-second still frame of, like, you're basically a fly in the corner of the room on the wall. You're looking down at this group of people sitting at a table, sitting still with no mouth flaps whatsoever, and only a camera panning for 20 seconds as they are doing a full-on dialogue. And at that point, I'm like, there's no way that they are starting the first episode of the season with this. So yeah.
That's not even bad animation. That's no animation. That's a complete lack of animation.
Is this even animated?
No, it's not. It's literally not.
It perfectly. So yeah. I can't talk about the rest of the season because I stopped there, but yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I very similarly had to go with the show that I only watched one episode, but I've heard so much about. And not only did Cammie from the chat remind me of this last week when I brought it up during our Oscars for the Pooper Scooper, but she immediately jumped on it in the chat today, and I'm sure she can list.
We all know what Cammie hates.
She can write the essay on why it's so bad, because I actually I'm stealing this. But it's A Girl and Her Guard Dog, which is a show that is bad on so many fronts that I touched on last week about, you know, grooming and sexual kind of problematic relationships, which is just, you know, not a great sign off the bat. But that almost was overshadowed in so many ways by how bad the production was, at which point, Cameron was saying, there's times where characters' outfits will change mid-scene from frame to frame. They'll just be wearing a different, like, shirt or
What?
something.
Insane.
Within, like, there's no time to change. This is not a trick of the lens. I've seen some like compilations of it on YouTube and stuff, and normally when people are like, oh, look at this still frame of Naruto, look how goofy he looks, look at this like one, mid transition shot where a character is really wacky. Like, I get that, that's funny, but that's kind of sometimes needed to make animation get from point A to point B. No excuses for that in this show. It was just so egregiously awful that you're almost distracted to the problematic writing and characters and designs that were underneath it. So, yeah, that was pretty bad. And I will mention, there was another show I had considered for this, but I tried very hard to only pick, only have each show on this list appear once, so I'm not beating up on it too much. But when I get to the show that could have been slotted here, you'll know exactly what it is. So,
Great.
We'll see if listeners can find out which show it is. What's the next category?
All right, this one was from Raggedy Doctor suggestion. Why did Mitz pass this award? Now, you were nice enough to get a list of all of Mitz's passes, and I have to say, I wasn't really that offended by this list. All these were fairly decent passes, especially like from the perspective of Mitz.
Yeah, if you're new to this podcast, Mitsugi often has a pretty good track record, but tends to slip up now and then and be like, oh, we should review this show. And it ends up being not the strongest. And I agree. I think this year was probably one of his finest in terms of what shows he had foresight to pass.
I think you could do this on me for this last year, because there were a couple shows I had passed, and you can ask the same question.
Ooh, maybe we should do a... Here, I'll give my vote for Mitz's pass, and then I'll run through yours really quickly.
Sure,
the bonus edition. So...
Oh, I didn't even say what... should I go first, or should you?
I'll go first, so then it gives me a chance to go through your sins, your histories of your grievances.
Yeah. Sure,
I mean, I've passed some weak stuff in the past too, and I definitely did it this last season, so I'm not one to talk. I went with Handyman Saito in Another World from it's not the worst show. It was just kind of ineffectual for me. I didn't really jive with the humor. It wasn't really that engaging or fun. All that said, though, it was leagues worse than Vinland Saga Season 2, Magical Destroyers, which wasn't good, but at least it was interesting. Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Bastard Season 2 I've already ripped apart enough, so I felt like I already knew what I was in for. And I didn't watch Mashal, so of those, and we haven't reviewed MF Ghost, we're reviewing Shangri-La Frontier next episode, so out of what's left, it's got to be Handyman Saito for me.
And I wasn't there for Handyman Saito, so I can't comment on exactly his opinions on what was in that show. But I was there for Mashal, and so I put that as my nomination because based on knowing Mitz does not like comedies, especially gag comedies, and a show as unserious as Mashal, you gotta wonder what else was in that season that he picked this over instead. I don't mind Mashal. I thought it was because I like anime comedies. So, but yeah, Mitz did not have a good time with that one. That's for certain.
Yeah, for you, I guess I just have to go with Saving 80,000 Gold.
Okay, yeah, that was a bad season.
I wasn't there for the Endo and Kobayashi one.
I think Endo and Kobayashi was the greater sin here.
Okay, and I'm sure it was. Luckily, I dodged that bullet. But yeah, that was... Winter 2023 was a rough season, not just for you. So
yeah,
no worries, no hard feelings, except that was
the rest
of my show.
The rest of my shows were fairly understandable passes.
Yeah, I mean, like I was not stunned by the fact that you passed it, and/or I have that show later on in my list, and I'm gonna shit on it later. So I don't want to reveal my hand too soon.
You take this very seriously.
I don't, but I appreciate the illusion that I do. The next segment is from Nuclear Burger, the Mom, Trust Me, the anime isn't normally like this award, aka the show with the most random fan service that was not needed. And this was kind of tricky for me because so many shows with fan service either made it part of their ethos and plot, like 100 girlfriends who really, really, really love you, or were so prevalent and consistent that it wasn't like a one-off thing. Like even with Eminence and Shadow, or the Reincarnated as a Vending Machine, like they had recurring fan service that was either used in some plot device or used in a recurring comedy way of delivery. So for me, I had to go with MF Ghost, which is a show I have not completed, so I could be completely off base here. But just from what I've seen, it's primarily a racing show of dudes in cars with just the occasional, oh, we have these cute girls in like angel outfits, like street racing type performances, and we're just going to zoom in on their crotch for no reason. And it seemed like the most whiplash of what this did not need to be there in any way, in any modicum of tastelessness. Like you can have cute girls in a show without doing that kind of stuff. So when we do that review, we'll see if I'm off base or not. But for now, that's my pick. What do you have?
Yeah, I haven't gotten into MF Ghost yet, so I wouldn't know. But I totally agree with the challenge being presented here, because you kind of have to toe the line of the excessive fan service. If it's excessive, then it's part of the show. But if it's not so excessive, then it doesn't belong in this category in the first place. So I had to go with The Vexations of a Shut-In Vampire Princess. Now, this show is about a vampire princess. It's a little strange, but she's a vampire, but she doesn't have like good abilities because she doesn't drink any blood. But at the same time, she is tasked with taking control of basically part of the vampire army, and they will tear her apart if they realize that she's powerless against them. So she gets help from her maid, who is very cunning and is able to trick them into thinking that the main character is very powerful. But the thing is about this maid is that she will, on occasion, sexually harass the main character in the most gross ways.
Not nice.
It's just really strange. You don't know why she has this obsession with this character. Like you get a bit of backstory with her. You know why she likes her and she wants to help her, but there's no explanation as to why she is so obsessed with seeing her naked. And I don't remember if she gropes her, but I'm pretty sure that's something that she would want to do. It's just so weird, and it's so unnecessary because the rest of the show is definitely not like that. But I thought it was fairly fine from what I saw. I did not finish the show, but it was enjoyable in parts, but still wonder why. All right, let's head into the next category here. This is from Mochi Mochi, and their suggestion was worst title. All right, so I have a couple of nominations here. The first one being the aforementioned Endo and Kobayashi Live, the latest on Tsundere Villainess Lies-a-Lot. And not only did we spend several, or a lot of time just trying to figure out how to say Lisa, I even just said it wrong then. Lies-a-Lot, Lisa-Lot, Lisa-Latte. We don't know how to say her name. But it's also just a very long title, and you just end up calling it Endo and Kobayashi. You just forget about the rest of it. And then second of all, we have My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999. It's the level 999 part. There's no level 999 in this video game. There's no reason for it to be in the title. It just makes it long. Yeah, it's just not a good title.
Yeah, I think overly long was kind of the theme with our answers here. Mm-hmm. I went with a show that has a pretty decent shortened form of Magi-Revo with the fans, but this is the magical revolution of the reincarnated princess and the genius young lady. Just too many adjectives. Just too much going on. I get that you just want to explain the plot, but you don't need to give a character breakdown as part of that as well. And it's accurate. I'm not going to say it's not representative of what the show is, but come on. Come on. And if anything, the young lady, like the other female lead is young too, so why isn't she the reincarnated young prince? I don't know. I don't need to explain it because you hear the title and you know it's bad. And
No, I totally agree. I think yours takes the cake on this one.
Oh, lovely. Race to the bottom. Love the Razzies. Next up, from Mr. Rogers. And by the way, thank you all for submitting these ideas. We didn't get everyone's, and there was a bunch of them, so but we still appreciate you nonetheless. This comes from Mr. Rogers. The most watchable / lovable trash award. Oh my goodness, something positive. Which is to say, stuff that is objectively bad, but we still like it anyway. Which is, tricky footing, because we all have bad taste. For me,
it's the mid award.
It is.
The Midnights love this stuff.
They do. I think at the end of the day, I have to go with Under Ninja as my answer for this one. This is so puke brown, sepia toned ugly. This is the embodiment of just the dingiest sewer crud that they pulled out of the Adult Swim aesthetic septic tank. It's so unappealing visually in so many ways, but it leans into its wacky, absurdist philosophy so hard about this ninja guy who kind of gets co-opted in this massive, huge plot between warring ninja faction groups that it's just kind of a fun time. And it's so straight-laced and not committed to any sort of realism all at the same time that it's genuinely an endearing watch. It's not quite like Migi Dali in its just one-of-a-kind uniqueness, but it's certainly something that we don't often get in anime, and I genuinely enjoyed watching it. It was a blast in all the right and wrong ways.
So my nomination, I'm probably the only one that would nominate it for this because I think I'm the only one that ever found anything enjoyable about this anime. That would be the aforementioned saving 80,000 gold in another world for my retirement because, yes, I'm the one who passed it. And yes, I do know how bad it is, especially by the end. But there were so many fun things I liked about it. And yes, the animation really took a tank. Yes, it did get really wild by the end in storytelling. And yes, it is another just general isekai that does not have much unique about it. But damn it, I liked Mitsuha, and I liked her ability, and I liked her entrepreneurship, and her ability to do some really underhanded things to people that you're supposed to care about. I thought it was pretty fun for what it was.
I thought there was definitely potential in that show, for sure. And
Thank you.
Thank you for a complete devoid pit of nothingness. But no reincarnated as a vending machine, Caroline?
Why would I put it here? Because I did not love that at all.
Gohan Trunks fan seemed like I thought you might like it.
I was definitely trash, but it wasn't lovable.
That's fair. Let's see. What is next?
All right, we got something from K Gem, who suggested most impractical outfit, which is something I live for because I love pointing out when outfits are stupid. So I think I had to go with Birdie Wing Season 2 because, oh boy, I've talked about it before, but Eve's outfit is just something else. It's the sports bra with a, waxed crop top and shorts with the fur, and they're booty shorts with the fur, so that fur is all up in her hoo-ha, and calf-high boots. And not only is this outfit impractical for everyday purposes, but it's severely impractical for a golf course in the just dazzling hot sun. And there are sunbeams coming down on every scene with the screen. Like, you can see the sunbeams. It's a constant thing. So you know it's bright. You know it's hot on a golf course. And there's no escape for those fuzzy booty shorts. There is none whatsoever. So I instantly feel uncomfortable when I look at Eve on that golf course. So that one takes the cake for me.
I think you have Lady Emery in your
Yeah.
corner on that one.
Yeah, we bonded over the unbelievableness of this outfit.
So I did not watch Birdie Wing season 2, nor a lot of shows that would tend to lead to extravagantly over-designed and impractical outfits. But there was one show that the lack of a certain accessory was so crucial to the show in a frustrating way that I think makes it literally the most impractical outfit. And that is the girl I forgot her glasses, where this character is so unable to see, yet her outfit consistently does not include her glasses. That's kind of an essential, you might think. It was kind of a practical component of her outfit, and for her to not have it was truly frustrating beyond belief. I don't think anyone who's had severe vision problems could watch the show and be like, yeah, I've been there where I just forget my glasses. It's just, I get that it's what's needed for the narrative to work. I get it, but also come on, lady.
Mm-hmm.
Put your glasses on.
I totally agree.
Anyway.
All right, here's the next category. Or do you want to introduce this one?
I can do it. So we always love doing the best boy and best girl categories. It's a highlight of the Oscars, and it's always fun to take the opposite side of the coin and do the worst boy and worst girl characters. And you can perceive this in any way. Like Black the Baritone, who said, do it for the creepiest character. Wooby Shuai said the most cringe character. Or Mr. Chias wanted us to give the Kelvin, aka most blandest anime character of the year award. So when we do worst boy or worst girl, there's a lot of flavors that these characters can come in. So Caroline, what was your worst boy and why?
So unfortunately I did not go with any of the flavors, though I probably should have to make it interesting. But overall, my least favorite boy of last year had to be Yahiko from Rurouni Kenshin. I could not stand this little twerp. And maybe it's not even just because he was a rude little kid who made bad jokes, who disrespected his teacher at every turn, and is just overall a turd. But also the fact that he was given more focus and more respect as a fighter than freaking Kaoru, who is supposedly a master at her sword fighting style and is yet treated more like a housewife and a caregiver than a fighter. And that pissed me off. And Yahiko is the representation of that pissing off. So, yeah, did not like him.
I'm going to skip ahead because my worst girl was Kaoru from Rurouni Kenshin 2023 for the exact same reason. Mostly because the character that I had for worst girl is actually on your list, Caroline, but I have that show in another place, so I couldn't give it to her.
You think about this way too much.
But no, Kaoru is an absolutely fine character. She's well designed. She's a nice person. She'd probably be very pleasant to hang out with. Her comedy is, decent enough for the type of show she's in. But like Caroline mentioned, she is such a thrown away person in terms of any sort of ability she might have besides being the woman, quote unquote, of a show, that she just feels so disrespected at every turn that you're just like, man, you are not a bad character, but everything surrounding you makes it infuriating to watch you in the show. So not bad. I'm not hating on her. I'm just saying.
But you're calling her worst girl.
I'm calling her the worst girl. I'm both implying and stating outright that I hate her inclusion on it in different ways than we normally see. So, what was your worst girl?
Okay, so I have a couple options here. One of them being Eve from Birdie Wing Season 2. Now, the reason why requires a bit of... No, not even our out. Like, listen, we shelved that horrible outfit for a lot of season 2, but it still made its appearance. And it's not even the outfit that gets me about Eve. Now, what gets me about Eve is going to require a bit of spoilers. So if you have not seen Birdie Wings season 2 and you really want to, skip ahead. But I think we're safe. Like, it's Birdie Wing. Anyway, so the thing about Eve is that she finds out through the perfect golf swing. She unlocks this memory that she has, that her father is actually Eve's father. Her, like, the famous golfer. Eve is his biological daughter. And even more than that, Aoi, she is not the biological daughter of that man. She's actually the biological daughter of the coach. So there's a lot of family drama happening at this point that Eve has just realized. Aoi doesn't know any of this. And the next time that she sees Aoi, do you know what she does? She basically rubs it in her face. Hey, your identity is a lie. Your father is not your father, and I'm his only daughter. And you know that coach over there? I bet he's your real daddy. So she's like destroying this poor girl's whole life, her identity, and they're supposedly best friends. Do you get how effed up that is?
That's more savage than Kaoru just being.
Yeah, total soap opera stuff. That was great. That was a really fun time, but Eve was a just terrible person. Speaking of terrible people, I actually have another girl on this list. It'd be Runa from My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999. The first half. Like, her in the second half, I actually thought was really funny, and I liked her character. But that doesn't make up for the fact that in the first half of this show, she has done some absolutely terrible things to the main character. I forget her name.
Terrible in, like, the irritating sort of way. That is...
And not even in the irritating sort of way. Like, she sets her with a stalker. She puts her on a date with this stalker. Like,
yeah,
that's really messed up.
It's really messed up. I'm just, like, mentally thinking about the male worst boy that I'm about to talk about, and I'm like, okay, all things considered, she's only kind of a terrible human being instead of the scum of the earth bad. So, tempering by comparing rotten apples to rotten apples. But, no, yeah, annoying to the point of so many regards. And I was thinking of Runa at first as well for my worst girl.
I definitely think she got better during the second half of the season. I actually really did like her, but I can't get over the first half.
She showed genuine remorse. She was more than just that, wall obstacle for their relationship. And, she was younger, and you're just like, you can't, like, I get it, but also that's pretty bad. Speaking of pretty bad, I think objectively one of the worst characters of the year, just from the sheer unbridled evilness that exists within him. And I'll say this without spoilers, but there's a character at the end of Heavenly Delusion that we run into who just is really not a nice person on so many regards. And I get it, it's a cruel, dark world with a lot of selfish people trying their best to survive and make it through a dystopian hellscape of a planet. But this guy goes above and beyond to just not only hurt people, but hurt people closest to him who have come to trust him for their entire life, who've really looked up to them, and to so brutally shatter their
mental state, mental, physical,
like everything about them is just not a good look, not a good vibe, my man. So that character from Heavenly Delusion, kind of the scumbag of the year, and therefore my vote for the worst boy.
Fair.
No bueno. Moving on. Would you like to take this one?
Sorry, I'm eating a whack nugget. Can you take this
Yeah,
one?
I got this. This comes to us from Timber Brad. This is the worst opening or ending for the series. So the 90-second opening song or ending song. Which is to say, not the worst visually or sonically, but worse in that they didn't fit the shows they were made for. So, which opening was not in cahoots, which was, not parallel with the show that we were presented before or after it? What do you think?
Hmm. I went with My Home Hero. I watched a few episodes of this show for impressions, and when you compare what the show is about to the OP, you would not think this would be the OP for this show. Because this show is about a father who realizes that his daughter is dating a very dangerous man in like the Yakuza, and his other previous girlfriends have ended up dead. He's planning to murder his daughter, and he ends up murdering him. And it's about his run-ins with the Yakuza going forward, trying to escape certain death, trying to protect his family. It's pretty dramatic shit. Um, the OP, however, this OP looks like and sounds like it's meant for a family slice of life. It's like showing the passage of time, showing like little girls, muddy rain boots, and him just being around his family and all that. And I guess to a certain extent, you could say like, oh, it's supposed to symbolize like his love for his family, but it really it does not even hint at any issues with the dark underworld of Japan or any of the murder that happens in this show. So it's definitely not a good fit.
This is a tough one. I actually had the idea in the back of my head to do a full topic one day of openings that don't fit their shows. And I think one a lot of people think of is like Death Parade, the very jazzy, fun, toe tapping radio opening to a very dark type of show. And going through the stuff this year, even openings I didn't really enjoy, all did a pretty decent job of representing the show we were delivered. So my pick for the worst opening that didn't fit the show has to be My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999, because that opening was so good and such a bop and so fun and was so compelling. And the show that came after it was so not that I was disappointed. The opening is amazing. I highly encourage people to check it out. It just has so much character and charm and life. And then the show just, mainly because the chemistry between the leads really didn't hit for me, I thought was like, oh man, I want the opening relationship. I want that show, not the one we got. So kind of a cop-out answer maybe, but
no, I get
OP.
it.
It was a good OP and just a whatever show.
Mm-hmm. Next one we have is from Buckets, who suggested Best Anime Meme Generator Award. Because if an anime doesn't spawn at least a dozen memes, did it even exist? So that was kind of the explanation they gave. My nomination is Oshinoko, specifically because of the light stick dance that permeated the world. And it's just, like, especially when the babies do it, it's really funny, and I love it. And then when they bring it back at the end, it's a good meme. So, yeah, that's my vote.
I know the exact scene you're talking about. I don't know if I know the meme. I feel out of touch.
It's more of like the GIF.
Oh, you've just seen it all over That's fair. Yeah. That's what a meme is.
But then people have what was it? America's Got Talent or something like that. When the dance crew made reference to, they danced to the opening song, but then they also did the light stick movement.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
that's a meme. I have two because I couldn't pick. One was off limits for Oscars, but the Razzies can play a little fast and loose with the rules. Best meme, in my opinion, has to be Freyrin's scene where she's holding out a potion that serves a very particular purpose, and she says, "You can give this kind of thing to men and they will be thrilled." And there was just a ton of posts of her holding out other items to give to men to be thrilled.
Like, I've seen that scene literally yesterday because I've been watching a bit of
Oh, okay, yeah.
But so I have seen the scene very recently, but I have not seen the meme.
Gotcha, yeah. So in the scene, she's
funny.
holding out a potion that will dissolve clothes because, of course, men love that. But in the memes, she'll be holding out Modelo, just alcohol. She'll be holding out like Gundam kits for people to build, Lego sets,
good.
just stuff like that. Just any PlayStation 5 controller. It's a very easy, low effort meme, but it's all very true. And she just has the most smug face with it that it works really well.
I need to look some of those up. That's pretty funny.
But the other meme is a bit of a throwback, and that has to do with the show Kamikatsu, with that weird CGI white tusked creature looking thing. If you remember this abysmal creature from episode 1 that just stares into your soul with this big toothy, it's not a grin, because a grin would invoke a verb that animals or humans can actually do, and nothing about this creature verbs correctly. It's a horror story. I actually probably should have pulled up a picture.
I'm looking at
Kamikatsu, I don't know, just
creature, God,
animal.
Yep, I forgot this was a thing.
Oh my goodness, the face of death. I don't know if I can quickly pull it into Twitch.
Although we totally dropped the ball with this one, Mason, because we did not even mention, and Lady Emery did in the chat, we did not even mention the Skip and Loafer aardvark pose.
Oh, that's true. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But that's just like in our Discord, that's...
I don't know about that. I think people all love the aardvark.
God, get off of here. I don't want social media. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry, listener. You're going to have to find it yourself.
It up. Just look up Kamikatsu monster and it'll be the first thing that comes up.
Oh God, no.
You'll know.
Get out. Leave.
Mason, did you break it?
I did. Okay, we're back. We're
this
so
is
back,
why
baby.
we like it when Mitz is here.
I shouldn't have done anything so ambitious. So yeah, those were my 2 best memes from last year.
And we have one last category.
Last one. Go for it.
All right, this one's from Yotaru Vegeta. Most unsatisfying season finale, and we both... Well, you put your suggestions in first, and I was in full agreement. Like, there's no way that I can top what you have already nominated. So, do you want to do the first one, at least?
Sure. Well, the first one that came to my mind, and both these shows aren't bad, but the first one was Pluto, which is, a pretty solid. We all gave it pretty good scores, but man, oh man, a mystery really relies on the setup and the ending. Those are the 2 most crucial parts of it. And while I thought it was a pretty good season, I've said pretty good way too often. I'm dancing around the thing. I didn't like the ending. Just both in the reveals of who the bad guy was, the techno babble of how it worked, the turning of the tides that made the good or bad people switch sides, and just an arbitrarily, it felt to me, killing of a creature by a I don't even care about saying anthropomorphic anymore. A goofy teddy bear just thrown in there to make it a lot of things just came together in a very jumbly, unsatisfying way that made it lose a lot of points in my book. So Pluto was good right up until the end and kind of lost a wheel. But the other one I think is bad in other ways. You want to talk about it?
Yeah. I think the important thing here is that to have an unsatisfying season finale, you have to be pretty locked in for the rest of the show. Otherwise, it doesn't even matter what the finale is. Obviously, these shows are going to be fairly decent, but with just a bad ending, like Pluto, but also Hell's Paradise, which was a pretty decent show. It definitely wasn't my favorite, but by the end, it really just made you want to bang your head against a wall. Because you go through everything that happens in this show. There's a lot of ups and downs, and the main character has some development, and he realizes some things, and we realize things about him. And then they do the worst thing possible. Spoilers for Hell's Paradise. They gave him freaking amnesia! So now, if they ever get to a season 2, we get to do all this shit again. He doesn't learn anything by this end of the season, so it's just... Everybody hates an amnesia thing, but that killed me.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
No bueno. No, that was good. I was trying to covertly get the Kamikatsu creature back on screen, and maybe after the news break I'll get it. That said, that was our anime Razzies. I hope they razzed you up, they entertained you. I had fun making this list and had fun just reminiscing on some of the shows of last year.
Yeah.
So
if you have some more thoughts on what you want to razz, come to the Discord and let us know.
Oh, that's a good place for razzing.
Mm-hmm. We love razzing. Let's head into our weekly trivia question here. In Migi and Dali, what pattern of wallpaper are the boys looking for? And we'll give you the answer after the news break.
Hello and welcome to AAA Podcast Information Headquarters. This is your news break for episode 720. At the Fuji TV Anime Lineup Press Conference event, it was revealed that Call of the Night will be receiving a second season. This will be airing on the Noi Tamina programming block and continuing the story of staying up late to hang out with vampire babes. The anime's first season premiered in July of 2022, where it was streamed on High Dive, and we reviewed it on episode 657. I, for one, am excited for the vibes to return, though my guess is it won't be until at least 2025. Next, Crunchyroll announces its release schedule for the spring 2024 anime season. This list might not be complete, but as of now, follows as such. Shows that will begin on April 1st include the readaptation of Spice and Wolf, God's Games We Play, Re-Monster, The Banished Former Hero Lives as He Pleases, I Was Reincarnated as the Seventh Prince so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability, and Train to the End of the World. April 3rd will serve up another helping of Bartender, Glass of God, while April 4th delivers us Laid Back Camp Season 3, Windbreaker, An Archdemon's Dilemma, How to Love Your Elf Bride, and A Condition Called Love. As for April 5th, we get the regular at Magic High School Season 3, The Idolmaster, Shiny Colors, Nijion Animation 2, and Astronaut. April 7th gives us the incredibly popular Jobless Reincarnation Season 2, Second Core, Grandpa and Grandma Turn Young Again, The Duke of Death and His Maid, Season 3. As a reincarnated aristocrat, I'll use my appraisal skill to rise in the world, and Vampire Dormitory. The next day of the 8th gives us Tadaima, Okairi, and Chillin' in Another World with Level 2 Super Cheat Powers. The 9th pitches up Oblivion Battery, while the 10th gives us Konosuba, Season 3, Viral Hit, and the mini-sides of Voice Actor Radio. We get a one-day break until the 12th gives us The Misfit at Demon King Academy 2 and Shadowverse Flame, Arc Hen. And finally, to round out the season so far, April 13th gives us Kaiju number 8, which I'm incredibly excited for, as well as Black Butler, Public School Arc. Well, that will do it for the Crunchyroll release schedule as far as we know it today, as well as the news break for this episode. So thanks for listening, let us know what shows you are the most excited for, and we'll see you with the answer to the trivia question in just a bit. Welcome back to the podcast following that average news break. I'm sorry, there wasn't much news this week. Where were we?
People are telling you to stop showing that terrible monster on screen. They want you to
Every time
stop,
someone
Nathan.
says that, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. We had an in-show trivia question. In Migi and Dali, what pattern of wallpaper are the boys looking for? And the folks got it right. It's paisley, the grooviest of patterns, I do say so myself.
It's very groovy.
Would Eve's shorts have been better if they were paisley?
No.
There you go.
Not even paisley can save those shorts.
No! Oh, they must have been pretty bad then. Too far gone. Let's see if paisley can save the Unexplored Pictures this week.
Get your popcorn ready. It's time for Unexplored Pictures with Mason.
Yes, this is the segment of the show where I talk about movies that aren't The Boy and the Heron that you might not have seen. The movie this week is Gold Kingdom and Water Kingdom. This is a 2023 movie by Studio Madhouse. It's a historical josei work, very similar in tone to A Bride's Story. It's based on a single volume manga from the mid-2010s by Nao Iwamoto. It's directed by Koto Watanabe, and it has music by the always excellent Evan Call. So, the plot of this movie, it tells the story of two neighboring kingdoms who have been at war for a millennia. And in one of the ceasefires, a giant wall is built in between them to further sever the divide. And in kind of a half-ass attempt to make amends, they come to the agreement that one kingdom will give up their prettiest lady to be married to a man on the other kingdom, and the other kingdom will give up their smartest man to be married to a lady on the other side. And it's a pretty shallow way of making a temporary truce, and it's even shallower in practice when you realize that the quote-unquote smartest man that is sent to the least elegant princess on one side is a literal dog, and the prettiest lady that is given to a poor slum dweller is a cat. So both kingdoms, instead of sending their prettiest lady and smartest man, send animals just as a further FU to the kingdom, trying to instigate more warfare. The problem with this plan is that the recipients of their new betrothed, being husbands, just kind of take it in stride, because they're like, okay, I was just gifted a cat as a wife. I'm not going to make waves. I'm just going to lay low. I'm not going to make a ruckus about this. And because I don't want more warfare. So both of them kind of just in secret acceptance, accept these animals as a gift. And the movie follows the man who was gifted a dog and a lady who was gifted a cat, or doesn't matter, other way around, and follows their journeys as they begin to intertwine and as they work together to bridge the bloodshed that has separated the kingdoms. And this movie is pretty interesting because it definitely takes inspiration from various countries of the Middle East, including Georgia and Azerbaijan, from the writing to the clothing, the cuisine, the architecture. It's all really cool. This movie takes place in these extravagantly detailed rooms with rugs that adorn these Gira-inspired arabesque rooms of onion-domed palace spires. It's so cool in its aesthetic and something we don't often get in anime. So it's definitely a unique setting. Excuse me. And the leads, the male and female, are kind, they're peaceful, they're very thoughtful inhabitants of the world, which are kind of, they serve to undercut the unstable brutality of warfare and the people at the top. And they just both exude a sense of genuine goodness, and it flavors their scenes with such a relaxed comfort of just a pure, sweet romance that might be a bit too saccharine for some viewers, especially when they fall into the established trope of having to, quote-unquote, pretend to be in a relationship with one another, when we've all seen it where, the guy visits the girl just as a friend, and she's like, oh, you gotta pretend to be my fiance so my dad doesn't get mad at you, kind of thing. Like that kind of thing. That said, the visuals are strong, the directing is really snappy, and just really well done. It's just some of the writing has some pretty lackluster peaks and valleys where the resolutions to the issues are a little too simple and shallow and just a little rudimentary for a lot of people. Sorry, allergies. This it's an overall pretty solid movie though. It would definitely work well for youngsters if it gets a dub in the future, but if you are past your teens, you've seen the story play out quite a few times already, and I can't recommend it for more than just a comfy romantic watch in a unique setting. So once again, that was Gold Kingdom and Water Kingdom, and it was alright. And now we can move on to the mailbags.
It's time for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime.
Mailbag.
If you want to send a mailbag, you can do so at AAApodcast.com and click on the mailbag button. And we got a mailbag here from they give pronunciation for everything else, but I still don't know how to say this first one. It's Clique, Seedle. Being a group of Threnody, Shersha, Pervine, and Seedle. So yeah, they collectively sent a mailbag here. One show we have been getting into lately is Master Keaton, an anime based on the manga by Naoki Urasawa and released in the late 90s. What we love about this show is that it's effectively a crime drama where the protagonist, the eponymous, that's how you say it, right? Eponymous? Master Keaton is an insurance agent. Who knew that investigating claims could be the basis of so many great tense tales? Our question is, what are the most original or unusual professions/jobs you've seen from protagonists in anime that have surprisingly led the show to an exciting storyline? Mason, you have quite a few if you want to rattle them off.
Yeah, so some of these are more interesting and exciting than others. Some of these are a little more low-key. That said, these were jobs that I thought were pretty atypical. We have Gallery Fake, a show that is very similar to Master Keaton if you haven't watched it, but it stars a museum curator and this art restoration dealer. He kind of solves art mysteries with a, cavalcade of interesting people who are trying to do both good and bad, and it's pretty interesting, I guess. Secco Boys has an idol manager. Managing idols is not something completely new. We saw it with that, what was that show last year where the girl had the really bushy eyebrows and big eyes? I don't remember. It's not that atypical. But I've never seen someone manage idols when those idols are literal statues, so that's kind of unique. Amagi Brilliant Park was a KyoAni show that wasn't the strongest, but it had the person be an amusement park manager, so that was a nice way of having to manage like finances and a lot of people working under you with kind of zany over-the-top antics. The Great Passage details someone who works in the dictionary editorial department, and Arya, the person's job is a gondolier, so she navigates those big old boats down canals. So that's all unique, moderately interesting.
Yeah, I think your answers were better than mine. I put down Akiba Maid Wars, featuring maid cafes. But the thing is that the antics that happen in that show are not realistic, and therefore maid cafes are definitely not experiencing something like this, or at least from my perspective, probably is not. Maybe it's different in the underground world of maid cafes. But it does make it pretty interesting. And also, show again Roku Rakugo Shinju being Rakugo performers. And since a lot of us here in the United States don't really know what Rakugo is, that makes the drama that occurs even more interesting. So those are my two answers.
Heroines Run the Show. That was the show. Not good. I don't recommend it. But anyway. Sorry my voice is completely shot this episode. Let's get to
When it's just two people.
I think it's that and just allergies just really hitting me hard. So I'm just too passionate, you know? I got too much to say and not enough saliva to get me there. Migi and Dali.
All right. I'll steer the ship on this one because it was my pack. It was from the fall of 2023, and I passed it in episode 701. You can watch it on Crunchyroll, and it's directed by Man-Q. Is that an actual name?
Yeah, that's what he goes by.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Done by Studio Geek Toys, which is a new one for me, and is based off a manga from Nami Sano, who wrote Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto. So the synopsis is: an older couple visit an orphanage to fulfill their dream of caring for a child, and there they find a beautiful and extremely polite boy named Hitori. They bring him to their home in the idyllic Oregon village. Oregon, not Oregon. Oregon, that's a state. Not in Oregon. And begin their new family life. However, Hitori's personality and entire identity is a charade, as he's actually two people, identical twins named Migi and Dali, and together they use their vast and kind of creepy abilities to investigate their birth mother's murder in this same town several years ago and get revenge no matter what the cost. So expectations going into it. I knew that it was going to be in a somewhat similar style to Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto, because again, they share the same mangaka, Nami Sano. However, the synopses online were pretty vague, so I was not sure what the story was going to be before watching. And it was also pretty under the radar, so even when I was interested in watching it, this came about because we, during a news break, talked about Nami Sano. She had passed away, I think it was in the summer of last year, and she's pretty young, so that was really surprising and really sad, especially when she had this anime coming out very soon after her death. So yeah, even though I knew all that and was interested in eventually watching it when it came out, I nearly missed it in the season's impressions list because I had so little attention on it. So after watching a few episodes, I was really weirded out. And that's no surprise. I think that everyone gets that same impression based on the first few episodes. And yet, I just felt like there was something so different about it, especially compared to the other things that we've been watching recently, that I really wanted to stick it out and pass it, despite there being very strong anime in that season. So I kind of took a risk with this one.
Yeah, Weird and Wild is certainly the abbreviated way of explaining my expectations and what I got. I mean, you definitely put yourself out there with being like, hey, this is not a bad season, but I think if I don't pass this show, like, no one will talk about it. It will regress into obscurity, and there's something about it that is engaging to me, so I'm passing it. So, just knowing that you were, like, staunchly, putting your hooves in and sticking with it was like, okay, let's see what it's about. Migi and Dali. Obviously, somewhat enjoy Sakamoto. Interested to see what came out of that mind palace of hers. And I think I was interested in, though still not with high expectations, just kind of doubtful about, like, okay, what are we getting into? And we'll talk about that. So spoiler-free recommendations. Caroline, should people watch Migi and Dali?
So I wrote a dissertation on this.
I look forward to hearing about it.
Okay. So I would recommend this show, but with warning of what someone would be getting into, because this is not a show for everyone. I'm going to say it there. But I will say, I think it's very well worth it. So just with warning, Migi and Dali is chock full of some of the most uncomfortable moments you can imagine. So just their portrayal of Hitori, their singular identity alone, just that, is something to cringe at constantly. But other than that, Migi and Dali are constantly doing things that make you think, literally, like, WTF? Why are you doing that? And why are you doing it in that way? And sometimes you don't even get a reason. They're just doing it to be weird. This will include things like seeing these 14-year-old boys in their underwear several times. And they even wear diapers and pretend to act like a literal baby. I would say spoilers, but you have no idea what the context is behind that. You could never guess what the context is with these 14-year-old boys having to act like a baby wearing nothing but a diaper. You have no idea.
I've seen the show and I don't know the context.
I think there's a reason.
Yeah, I know.
Other than that, they also eat food like a dog at a couple points. Like, there's one point where one of them just like literally slithers onto the ground, and they are fully able to pick up the plate and eat it like a normal person, but they just put their face on the plate and start eating it off the plate.
Quick tangent.
Yeah.
The way that they move in their environment is off and creepy and weird, but the slithering, slouching sound effects that they put on top of them just adds another layer of just like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's whatever your spine tingling feeling is this show is trying to elicit that as often as it can.
Yeah.
And not in necessarily like gory, scary ways, just in plain suburbia discomforting ways.
Yeah. Even when they just laugh at something, it's not a normal laugh. It's like they're seizing on the ground.
It's a full body thrashing about. And you're just like, ugh. Okay.
And as you said before, they are slithering on the ground and pretending to be a girl. And there's something even more uncomfortable on top of that, but I feel like that would be going into spoiler territory. So I'll leave it at that. But as much as I have really sold this show to you in the last couple minutes, which at this point, even I would not want to watch this. You guys know how I am. And I don't do uncomfortable in anime. But if you can get past that, I think what you get in return is so much more than what you would expect. And I think it's even better than what you would expect. So the mystery in this show, the mystery of their mother's death, where they came from, what's the deal with this weird village and the people that live in it, I think it's really well done. And the twists and turns that it takes, you don't necessarily expect. Migi and Dali, even though they're introduced as this, creepy twins, like we've seen that in horror stories before, they are the twins. But they actually become very defined by the end, and to the point where you know exactly who they are, why they are the way they are, who they are to each other, and they're just not like the same as they were in the beginning. And speaking of which, I feel like the character development and the writing are some of the best from last year. Like, there's a character arc that was amazing that I thought. And I think it all wraps up in very well in this one season, which is rare on its own that we actually get an end in one season, and there's nothing more after this. But it's also extremely satisfying and emotional. I cried at the end of this creepy, uncomfortable show. And yeah, it's not the show for everyone, and it will take some effort. But I think it's worth it, and I think it was severely slept on. The end.
So yes, but for very specific folks who are willing to go through that roller coaster.
If I were to try to explain this to myself without seeing it, I think I would not have even given it a shot, but I did. I thought it was great.
Well, there you go. I will work backwards from Caroline. So I think that this show definitely sticks its landing. I too got a little teary because this show is not just a non-stop barrage of weird, creepy, domesticated suburban horror. It's not about taking revenge for your parents. It's not about meeting expectations. It's really about growing apart from your siblings. And I think anyone who has brothers or sisters or anyone kind of in that same age range, even close cousins, I think could connect with the path that these two brothers, these two twins, go through. And I think that is truly touching in a way. It is just behind this story that both takes itself way too seriously and not seriously at all. And it leaves you kind of conflicted as a viewer, because one thing I like about Sakamoto and Nami Sano, the creator's mindset philosophy, which seems to be, how can I get my characters into wild conundrums and get them out of these predicaments in clever and unique ways? And in a comedy like Sakamoto, where the stakes are something like, oh, how is our main character going to rent a porn video from a store even though he's a minor without getting caught? He does all these absurd things, but it's such a silly, preposterous situation that it's okay that they're outrageous. In Migi and Dali, where the stakes are knife-wielding, flame-spewing, razor-wired adversaries, the same absurdist tendencies kind of feel out of place. Like if you're watching Tom and Jerry, you don't question the banana peel that gets thrown to trip up Tom because it's a silly cartoon cat show. But if you're watching Halloween, Laurie can't use a banana to stop Michael Myers. It's kind of the same thing where you have to both take the show seriously and allow it to be as silly as it wants, and that can make it a difficult watch. So I came out of Migi and Dali enjoying it more than I thought, but I think it's just too unique and specialized, while I do enjoy that in shows, to obviously mass recommend it. So we'll talk about it. If it seems up your alley, give it a shot. I thought it started strong and ended strong, so it'll sell you along the way if you like it. So with that, let's get to spoilers.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god!
I'll be honest, I was like pretty nervous to make such grandiose recommendations with this show, because for some reason, I think I'm the only one that really likes this show. So many people absolutely despise this. And I kind of don't get it. Yeah, it's weird as hell. It's so weird and uncomfortable. But there was a lot of good stuff here.
So where would you like to begin?
Well, we've mentioned it's unique. We didn't really say how, I don't think. How it's unique. I think it does unique things in that it is a decent mystery that we don't typically get, but it also, like, the mystery behind this town and the adversarial family that is keeping track of every villager in their movements in this diorama in their attic. And then when they kill them, when a character is killed, they just pop off the head of the doll that represents them. That, and also it gets into the Handmaid's Tale-esque storyline of the mother of Migi and Dali. That was dark as hell. And then, yeah, but there are other things that are unique about it, but I just can't put my finger on it, you know?
It's for a show that is so rooted in the mystery, it's very much about the characters. Every character in here gets a personality and some memorable interaction or quirk that is remarkable, that is, you know, good or bad. And a lot of the comedy comes from that. Like there's this side character of a side character of a side character who's like this beaver guy. And his quirk is like whenever he gets scared, he like falls down and like freezes like a small rodent. And that's really funny at times, but also like very endearing to his personality. And every character has like a small moment like that, big or small, that makes them stick out and work in this massive jigsaw. They're all playing a puzzle piece in some way. The problem is some of these quirky elements, like Migi will just sometimes stick his tongue out really far and and talk with it out.
That was weird.
And you know, the appeal is we find out that their mom used to do that too. Like she will stick her tongue out and talk in that same weird manner. And they're trying to be like, oh, look at, see, he's her son because he's mimicking her like facial tics. And I'm like, okay, I get that. But also you chose such a frustratingly impractical tic that is so goofy beyond belief that it kind of can throw people off. So even when it's being irritating, I get what the show is going for, and I appreciate that. It's just so frustrating in how it sometimes chooses to present its things.
Yeah,
And
I
yeah, go
I
ahead.
definitely think that the whole facial that facial expression that Migi does,
Mm-hmm.
and the seizure like laughing and eating food off a plate like a dog, even though there's no reason for him to do that. There are just so many things that were unnecessary that didn't really feel like it made anything better about the show. Like there were certainly things, uncomfortable things about the show that I thought were fine to keep, because they gave the show its character. Uh, I feel like there were certain things that just didn't need to happen, that didn't play up anything about the style of this show. It just made it weird for no reason.
Yeah,
At least could be dialed back a little bit.
I don't know. This is a difficult show to review because you don't really need the mystery to communicate what it does well. You're watching it just for not so much are they going to solve it, but what's going to happen the next scene. I have no idea. I have literally no
Yeah.
idea. Everything is a roll of the dice. But I think, like, taking a step back, the show is about the two brothers, Migi and Dali. And essentially, why I think it works so well at the ending is Dali is the untarnished, unbowed kid. He lives his life very singularly. He is about the pursuit of the murderer of their mother, and that is his compass. And he sticks to that. And Migi lives
He's
life.
like that in the beginning, like because that's all they knew.
That's all I know, but they're identical at the beginning. And
Yeah.
Migi, even though they're both playing the same role in the same way, Migi's the one who's living life. He befriends this bird boy. He falls in love. He is reconditioned as an infant. He experiences all these things that Dali doesn't. And just the nature of life, even if they're living it as exactly as they can, drives them apart. Not in a feuding kind of battle way, but just life separates people. And the story, especially like starting with 7 and 8, is when it turns to Dali realizing his brother is not him. They're not a matched set. They are different people that are developing their own individual natures, and seeing that divide and how it then changes them, propagates, it's asymptotic as they drive further apart, is really engaging. And I think the crux of why this story doesn't get old, and it's just haha, silly twins do the same thing and trick people, which it was at the beginning and it was fine, but it needed that split, and it did it so well, which is why at the end with the reveal it's so powerful, because these themes that have been building finally come to a head. And that cresting of the wave is, I'm also just a sucker when people cry when they eat. Oh my goodness, I love that so much. And yeah, that to me, is what this show is about, more than the revenge plot. But it
I totally get it.
was like, oh, that sounds boring and lame. Let's throw in a murder mystery and weird psycho moms and cherry pies and oh shit, just great comedy. But it's a roll of the dice, and that's really what this whole experience was like for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm rambling.
No, I definitely think you hit the nail on the head, because Migi and Dali are what makes this show pretty great for me. Like at the beginning, I'm wondering if I'll ever even be able to tell who's Migi and who's Dali. Like I know what their hair swoops go in opposite directions and all that, but I was like, I still can't remember which one is which and what the difference is. And then within a few episodes, you kind of realize, like, okay, so this twin is more serious than this twin. And this twin comes up with the plans. And this twin is better at impressions. And then as it gets going, you realize, okay, this twin seems to enjoy the charade a little bit more than the other twin. And it just continues on from there. And then eventually I'm like, oh yeah, that's Migi, that's Dali. Migi would make that face. Dali would not make that face. And Dali thinks this is important. Migi thinks this is important. And for anime that, like, there's an anime with a set of twins in it, it's most likely going to be one character played by the twins. Like, they are not going to be, they're going to have anything different between them. They're going to be, and they're going to play that up. It's going to be part of the humor. They're like, we're going to talk at the same time and that kind of thing. So it's kind of rare in an anime that they would even treat a twin as a separate character from the other. And in this show, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And I like them. I like the very physically, once again, impractical, but unique ways that they solve their issues at the beginning. The way they, like a contortionist, twist into each other's positions at the dinner table. The way they hang themselves from a tree so their stepdad can lift them up. Like, all those kind of very visceral, physical comedy things are great at the beginning. But I think, to me, when it goes into the more serious murder mystery execution, it's just like I said earlier, just a little too zany with, while I kind of like her, the spectral intervention of a certain housekeeper.
Oh my God.
Certain moments that I'm just like, I get it, but it just feels so cheap that it loses me. And just some of these.
And it just does not make any sense. There was no reason for her to be there. Don't you think?
Yeah. Sorry, my everything just shut down.
Did you just have like a power outage or something?
Yeah, maybe.
So strange. But I carried on without you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That was the main thing that bothered me at the end. Everything could have happened without that weird part that just surpassed the logic that was being established in this show. But yeah, I think this whole show, the whole point of it was to delve into like the theme of identity, like Dali realizing that he's different from Migi, and then realizing what they would want out of life outside of revenge, and etc.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult. I thought the music was fine. I thought the animation was a little stiff, not always the greatest, but it got the job done. I don't know. I'm trying to. It's like, looking back, I see what it did so well and so unique, and it was a breath of fresh air in so many ways. But also, it was like, just the murder mystery wasn't that good. The villains weren't that engaging. The resolution and some of the twists were not that remarkable, and things just happened a little bit too conveniently. I don't know. It was an experience, and I'm frazzled from the show. I'm frazzled from my OBS not working. I don't even know.
Do you need a second?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
I think we're still going.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps. So you say that the murder mystery wasn't that interesting. I don't know. I thought the pacing of the season was pretty good. There were
fine.
A lot of good cliffhangers. I did not quite expect the relationship of, Migi and Dali's mother and the main antagonist, and what the deal was with the main antagonist's family, where those kids came from, their surveillance of the town. Did not expect any of that.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Some of the like the way the villains just were a little too much for me. I don't know. Just some of their motivations and stuff just didn't hit home with me. I don't know. I actually don't know if there's much more I need to say besides it worked when it worked. And when it didn't work, you're just like, oh, well, that was just silly. And then you move on. And I don't know. I don't know.
Since you seem to have exhausted.
I'm all out of sorts. You keep on going. I'll chip in if I can think of anything.
Sure. I think the best moment of the show was easily the reveal of the adopted parents, the Sonoyamas, revealing that they know that Hitori is actually two people. When
Oh,
they
easily.
I mean, because that's kind of what twins always want, is to be able to be seen as two people. And the fact that they didn't even know they were two people, but could easily identify that they were, and even how crazy the situation was, and they had a separate plate out before they even confirmed all this. And then they're introducing themselves to them again, and I'm like, they are the perfect parents, even though they're really weird.
Yeah, no, that was
Even though they
such a
want to
good
take baths
scene.
with their 14-year-old son.
It was such a good scene, especially because it was
Yeah.
built on the fact of a couple episodes of Dolly realizing he couldn't do it alone. Like, that was good. But then you also had them introduced by walking up and you see the two sets of feet. And I'm like, oh, that's really smart in how it was directed. But also those foot animations were really not the best. And it was like, they kind of took away from the reveal. But it was still, it hit the moments when it needed to. And you just had to be down for just riding the waves up and down of quality on the way to get there. So,
Oh, and another thing about that scene, like even after that, when they sit down and they reveal each other to the parents, and then when Migi and Dali are just making fun of each other, of their names, and giving them crude nicknames, and like Dummy Dali and Midget Migi, and they're laughing at each other, and you're thinking to yourself, like, this is like, they're so comfortable around each other now. And also, the bird boy saved the dog from the burning building, and I totally forgot about the dog. And then they adopted the dog. I was so happy.
the dog
I
lives.
really loved all of that. Like, the last couple episodes were something else.
Yeah.
And then even at the actual end, and they get into an epilogue, and you kind of see where people end up and how they grew as people even after all this, and they are now wearing different clothes, thankfully, other than the Steve Jobs outfits. That was really weird.
Yeah.
Oh, we could have done like for impractical outfits. I think those would be pretty impractical, considering they had to slither around so much and they're wearing jeans, and they were doing acrobatics in jeans, and they were slithering around so much that dirt and dust was inevitably going to get on that black shirt. Yeah, that's pretty not
Pretty
convenient at all.
suspect, if you do ask me. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
There was just a lot of little moments I liked, from the little ways that Dolly helped Migi when he was trying to live in the shadows, from the way Bird Boy like decomposed Migi's erratic drawings of his love of his life and was able to extract the abstract from them to create the portrait on the wanted posters. Like, it, I don't know, I love those little clever moments that she is so good at writing. But I think in the big picture, I was just a little underwhelmed at times.
Mm.
I don't know.
I reject your opinions.
That's fair. That's fair.
And even though you didn't really like the wackiness of the main antagonist of the show, I thought she was pretty cool and intimidating. I was not huge on AG. I don't know. I feel like his ending could have been a little bit different. But by the end, with the epilogue, I think it turned out pretty good. The fact that both of these kids are still under the care of this father figure, that they are his father, or he is their father, but how he became their father, or actually AG's father, how he became his father is concerning, and the fact that he had this woman as a wife, concerning. What else? Oh, the OP and the ED. They were really good.
I like the OP. The ED wasn't so good that I had to stay around and watch it each time.
I probably overhyped it.
But it was.
I just thought it was
fine.
sweet.
Like
And it was
the cherry
nicely
pie.
drawn. Yeah, and I just like the way it was drawn. And yeah, one more thing on my list here is cringe galore. Just so much cringe.
But it was a mix of good and bad cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, surprisingly, that's all I really have to say.
Like, we don't. Yeah, like the reveal of Edgy and stuff could have been incorporated a bit better. The whole, oh, we found the button on you, and now we're going to indoctrinate you as a baby, and they'll just let you go. Like, some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
is,
that
I think,
one was... That didn't make any sense.
It's not so much the baby part was weird, but then they were just like, okay, you're free to go now, assuming that it worked, assuming...
We don't even know why it didn't work, because apparently it does work, because it happens.
Work, and then
but
they're like,
it didn't work.
Early, they're like, oh, we're looking for the paisley wallpaper, and the lady's like, oh, they have the paisley wallpaper in their house in the one room that she wouldn't have been able to get to because it's always locked, but maybe she was because she's a housekeeper who's really
and we're completely ignoring the fact that sometimes you change wallpaper over the course of 10 years.
Exactly. There's a bit of looseness to the stuff, and I think that's where some of the serious elements fall flat, especially when juxtaposed with the zaniness. But nonetheless, it was an experience. It towed the line between the clever and the absurd. It mixed the physical comedy with uncomfortable and incomprehensibly strange and just the impractical, but it was fine. I don't know. I feel like you're trying to pull up my score. And I think I'm going to stay resolute and give it 2.5 good boys out of 5.
Don't think that was high enough, but okay.
I'm sorry. I wanted to give it a 3. I love unique things, but...
I know. But I think I'm also inflating my opinions of it just because I feel like nobody else talked about it, and I like to put my stamp of approval on things.
You want people to watch it too.
Yeah.
And you don't do that by giving it a 2.5 and be like, it was all right. No, you say, that's why I liked it. Watch it, nerds.
Nerds, yeah. And also, I feel like I made the right choice. People criticized me for this because I ended up not passing The Eminence in Shadow Season 2. I ended up not passing Undead Unluck. I did not pass 100 Girlfriends, all of which got passed by listener choice. And if I had passed one of those instead, do we even want to imagine what would have passed for listener choice? What was... We don't even know what the fourth place choice was.
I will say this, Caroline. Despite my score, I am glad you passed this show.
Thank you, Mason. I definitely think it was worth reviewing, considering it is... Love it or hate it, it is definitely different. That's all. And actually, I'm kind of disappointed that Mitz wasn't here for this, because I would be interested to know how he thought of it. But yeah, overall, I made it no secret that I really liked it, despite its many weird points. So I'm gonna give this show... For my first love was actually my twin brother in disguise. Twice! This happens twice! Out of 5.
Nice. We'll take that. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And with
All
that...
right, let's see if anybody watches this show based on that.
We'll give it a shot. Let us know, listeners, if you watch the show, or they just watch it for the review. They're the true heroes of this podcast. But that was episode 720 of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. We may or may not be kind of off next week. You may or may not hear this for a while because Mitz is in Japan, like we said. We'll be back when we're back. Like I said, next time you do hear from us, though, we will be reviewing Shangri-La Frontier. So if you have not been watching that show, it's 2 cours, so get on it. And if you have, we need to start because we got a lot of shows to watch. Anything else before we leave the good people to do an after party?
Well, I might be doing a radio hour next week since I'll be on my own. It probably won't be live on Twitch, but it will eventually come out if I do indeed do it, and we will see.
Perfect. So thanks again, everyone, once again, for listening. Hopefully your March is going well, and I don't know. We really appreciate you. We'll see you in the next one. Let me throw up one more image for the good people at home, and have a good one.
Is it the monster again?
It probably is. My OBS is so busted I can't even see it.
Happy St. Patrick's Day! Bye!
Bye.